So I am a healthcare executive. I am at a healthcare conference. I want to talk to all of you about something that is not healthcare, that I would argue transcends healthcare, that in many ways is bigger than healthcare, and will actually impact healthcare in a way that will surprise you by the time we're done. We're going to talk about rap music. And specifically, you are going to help me choose the greatest rap artist of all time. To do that, I need your help. I need you to pull out your phones, scan in this QR code. As you're doing that, let me tell you what you're about to see. The first question is a baseline question. I need to understand the audience. And so we're going to ask you a very simple question. Do you love rap music? You can't stand rap music? Or I can kind of take it or leave it. This baseline question, there's no right or wrong answer. It just helps us understand the audience. And in particular, what it does is it helps us understand how many enthusiasts we have in the audience. How many people truly love rap music? And the answer to that question is not very many. Now, is that a surprise? No, that is not a surprise. I could actually pick a lot of different topics, and if I asked how many people love that topic, it's going to be 10, 15, maybe 20% of a group. And so with rap music, that 10 to 15, 20% is actually really important. You have a role to play. So for those of you who love rap music, only the enthusiasts, I want you to answer the second question. So we should only have about 8 answers. The second question is East Coast, West Coast, or I love it all? For the non-enthusiasts in the room, there are usually opinions on this topic. East Coast and West Coast are pretty specific styles. Most of the major rappers that you would have heard of ascribe to or associated with one or the other. And so what we have here is we have 4 West Coast. By the way, I'm West Coast. We have 1 East Coast. That's not a lot. We do have 8 people who love it all. Now, I would argue you can't be an enthusiast and love it all. You have to have an opinion. And so we are going to look at first, our West Coast enthusiasts. So the 6 people who are West Coast enthusiasts, you now get to nominate a West Coast rap artist as the greatest of all time. So who are you going to nominate? You've got 10 choices. Very quickly, we see them coming in. Not surprising if you know West Coast rap. And we've got Tupac jumping out in the lead. This is close. Whoa, whoa, only our West Coast enthusiasts. Only our West Coast enthusiasts. We've got a tie between Tupac and Kendrick Lamar. I get the deciding vote. I'm choosing Kendrick Lamar. So Kendrick Lamar is our West Coast candidate for greatest rap artist of all time. Now our East Coast, and there was only one of you, so there's only one vote here. Our East Coast single enthusiast gets to choose or nominate an East Coast rapper as the greatest of all time. So I don't know who you are, but you get to choose. And Biggie Small. So for all of you guys who don't know, Biggie Small is a great choice for East Coast. 1990s, I'm dating myself. Oh, wait a minute. We're gonna go with Biggie Small. Now, everybody gets to vote on this next one. You all get to choose the greatest rap artist of all time. You get to choose between our West Coast nominee, Kendrick Lamar, and our East Coast nominee, Biggie Small. So who is going to win that? Wow, we only had 1 East Coast enthusiast, but East Coast does seem to be winning. We've got a lot of Biggie Small fans out there. So I think I'm going to declare Biggie Small the winner here. I have one last question for everybody, and for this one, you just have to raise your hand. When you think about all of the rap artists that you happen to know, given we don't have a lot of enthusiasts, that may be a short list. But if you think about all of the rap artists you happen to know, how many people genuinely think Biggie Small is the greatest of all time? But the greatest of all time. We've got a couple hands, not very many. And so here's the question. How could we just run through a process to choose the greatest of all time, and then none of you actually have your hand up to say that they're the greatest of all time? So I will argue that the reason for that is we let our enthusiasts nominate the candidate. and they nominated the wrong people, or we had a process that allowed them to nominate the wrong people. Would you want to use this process to select the president of your medical staff?
No.
The leader of your church or your synagogue or your place of worship? The trustees for your university? No.
No.
The trustees for your medical school? No. So why do we use this process to choose our elected leaders in the United States? Because that's exactly what we do. Did you know that 10% of Americans choose 83% of the House of Representatives? Now, you look at it and you say, wait a minute, we have a 50, 60% participation rate in general elections. How could that be possible? Well, it's pretty simple. 83% of our House of Representative seats are either blue or red. We know who is going to win before the election occurs, which means the real election was the primary. And only 10% of Americans choose to participate in the primary. And guess who they are? They're the enthusiasts. They have the strongest opinions. They're often really voting on one issue. And they're not generally representative of the rest of the population. The good news is, while this is a systems issue, it's not an enthusiast problem. It's not a voter problem. It's a systems problem. The good news is we can fix this. And I'm going to tell you a quick story to show you how. So Senator Lisa Murkowski, Republican senator in Alaska, she ran for re-election in 2010. She lost. Incredibly popular senator in Alaska. She lost in the primary because of a bunch of enthusiasts who voted for a more ideologically conservative Republican. But Senator Murkowski said, I don't think this is what the voters in Alaska want. So she ran in the general election anyway. She ran as a write-in candidate. She went to the citizens of Alaska and she said, I want you to go into that ballot box. I want you to ignore every name on the ballot. I want you to check the box other and write my name in. And by the way, you have to spell Murkowski correctly. Yeah, think about that. 100,000 Alaskans did exactly that. They went in that box, they checked other, and they wrote her name and they spelled it correctly. 40% of voters wanted Senator Murkowski to represent them so badly that they went to that effort to have her as their representative. If you fast forward 10 years to 2020, Alaskans went a step further. They said, you know what? A system that makes us do that is broken. And so we're going to change the system. And they voted by referendum to introduce something called ranked choice voting in Alaska, which was used in 2022. Senator Murkowski won again. Her name was on the ballot. She won the old-fashioned way through ranked choice voting. What is ranked choice voting? We are going to choose, once again, the greatest rap artist of all time. So if you can, pull out your phones, scan in this code. You're going to get a list of 20 of the greatest rappers of all time. You get to choose one. Hit submit at the bottom of the list. While you do this, let me describe a couple things about ranked choice voting. First of all, there's only one primary, not two. There's not an East Coast and a West Coast. There's one. And it has all those East Coast and West Coast candidates in it, and people who don't qualify as East Coast and West Coast, like Eminem or Lil Wayne. This time, we will take the top 5 vote getters in the primary, and we will move them to the general election. So the top 5 will move to the general election. Let's see who we've got for some top 5. I bet these are names people will be familiar with. While the votes are coming in, what I will describe for you is, in the general election, 2 things happen. One is, you're not going to choose one candidate. So here are our top 5. Names like Eminem and Drake, who wouldn't have even been on the East or West Coast list. So now we will move all of them to the general election. You have one more QR code to scan in. This time, you're not choosing one candidate, you're ranking the top 5. First to last. This time, to win the election, it's not good enough to have the most first place votes. You actually need to have 50% of the votes. So how do you get to 50% of the votes when you've got 5 candidates? That is what we're about to see. So I will give all of you a moment to pull this in. But what this does is it helps us create consensus. That is what this is doing. And so as these votes come in, what you will see is the first place vote getter is not likely going to have 50% of the votes. They rarely do. What you're going to see here in a moment is a process where if the first place vote getter does not have 50% of the votes, we eliminate the 5th place vote getter. So in this case, M&M is not at the 16 votes required for consensus. So we will eliminate Lauryn Hill, and we'll take the 2 votes for Lauryn Hill, and we will give you your second choice. I heard a moan in the room. And we will give you your second choice, and your second choice gets reallocated to Biggie and Drake. Eminem's still not there. We get rid of the 3rd choice. Eminem is now at half the votes. And by the way, Eminem almost always wins. Because the truth is, Eminem is the consensus winner, right? He's not necessarily always everybody's first choice, but he's the consensus winner. This is the process that got used in 2022. This is the process that re-elected Senator Murkowski again. So why am I a healthcare executive standing up here talking to all of you about ranked choice voting? So I am a healthcare executive. I'm also a business executive, and I'm just an American. All 3 lenses lead me to the same conclusion, which is healthy governance matters. It matters. If we want a healthy healthcare system, we need a good regulatory system, and we need healthy governance to get there. That's for access for your patients to get care. If we want a strong economy with good GDP growth, good per capita income, and a place where companies can thrive, we need healthy governance. And if we just want a world that we want to live in 10, 12, 15, 18 years, we need healthy governance. So my hope is that every executive is out there talking about what they think it takes to get to consensus and healthy governance. We can make changes. Alaska showed us we can make changes. Over 250 years, we Americans have made changes over and over and over. We gave the right to vote to people of color, to people who don't own property, to women, to 18-year-olds. We decided to take the primary process out of the hands of party leaders in smoke-filled rooms and give it to voters. That's not how it used to work. We took the decision for senators out of the hands of state legislatures and we gave it to voters. That's not how it used to work. All of these things were to drive to more representative governance. And that's what we need to take the next step on again. More representative governance. Alaska has done that. Maine has done that. Nevada is taking the steps to do that. There are states moving in the right direction. The reason that I hope you care is, 1, I hope you choose to vote in primaries. 2, when you leave this room, my hope is you go do research on ranked choice voting yourself. That you don't decide that it's a good thing because I'm standing here talking about it, but because you did the research and came to that conclusion on your own. My hope is that you do come to that conclusion, and that when you see it on the ballot, you vote for it, and you ask your friends to vote for it. And my hope is that if it's not on the ballot in your state, you'll think about organizing citizens to go put it on the ballot. Because in America, that is what we get to do. We actually have those options. And that is what I'm hoping you choose to go take a step in the direction to do. So thank you very much. Very good.